In the quiet hills of ancient Thrace, where olive groves stretched toward distant mountains and rivers moved slowly beneath overhanging willows, there once lived a musician whose songs could calm the wildest storm. His name was Orpheus, and it was said that when he played his lyre, the rivers themselves would pause their flowing, and the birds would fall silent, simply to listen. Orpheus had found in his wife, Eurydice, a happiness deeper than any melody he had ever composed. They walked together often through meadows heavy with wildflowers, her laughter blending gently with the soft notes of his lyre, the two of them unhurried beneath the wide Thracian sky. But joy, however deep, is rarely permitted to rest undisturbed for long. One warm afternoon, as Eurydice wandered through tall grass at the meadow's edge, a serpent hidden among the flowers struck without warning. Orpheus found her there only moments later, already fading, her hand still loosely curled around a small bundle of wildflowers she had gathered. Grief settled over Orpheus like a slow winter, heavier with each passing day. His lyre remained untouched for many weeks, its strings gathering quiet dust in the corner of their now empty home. Yet in time, a single thought began to take root within him, gentle but insistent. Perhaps love and music might reach even where grief could not follow. And so Orpheus set out toward the entrance of the underworld, a shadowed cave hidden deep within a quiet mountain valley, where cold mist gathered low along the ground even in the warmth of midday. He carried nothing with him but his lyre, and a heart still unwilling to accept the finality of loss. The path downward was long, winding through darkness, lit only by the faint pale glow of distant unseen sources, the air growing steadily cooler with every step. Orpheus walked without hurry, his footsteps soft against ancient stone worn smooth by countless souls who had walked this same path before him, though none, until now, had walked it choosing to return. At last he reached the banks of a wide, slow river, its dark water moving without sound, beneath a sky that held no stars. There waited Charon, the silent ferryman, his boat resting patient and still against the muddy shore, waiting as he always had, and always would, for those the river was destined to carry. Orpheus lifted his lyre and began to play, not out of demand, but out of quiet, aching hope. The melody drifted softly across the water, and for the first time in all his countless years of ferrying the dead, Charon lowered his oar, listening, something like memory stirring faintly behind his ancient, weathered eyes. The boat carried Orpheus across the still water deeper into the quiet realm beyond, until at last he came before the thrones of Hades and Persephone, rulers of that shadowed kingdom. He did not plead with words alone, but let his music speak instead, a soft and mournful melody that told, more clearly than language ever could, of love, of loss, and of a grief too vast to simply set aside. Even Hades, whose heart had long grown accustomed to sorrow's quiet company, felt something shift within the stillness of his ancient throne room. Beside him, Persephone, who understood better than most what it meant to be pulled between two worlds, gently nodded, and a rare and quiet mercy passed between the two rulers of the dead. Eurydice would be permitted to follow him back toward the world of light, Hades said, his voice low and even, echoing softly through the vast stone chamber. But one condition remained, unbending as the ancient stone around them. Orpheus must walk the entire way without once looking back, trusting, rather than seeing, that she truly followed behind him. And so Orpheus began the long ascent, his footsteps steady upon the same worn path he had descended, his lyre now silent, held gently at his side. Behind him, somewhere in the darkness, he could hear the faint, soft sound of footsteps matching his own pace, though he could not be entirely certain if it was truly her, or merely an echo shaped by his own aching hope. The path grew longer with every passing moment, doubt creeping in slowly. the way mist gathers unnoticed until it has filled an entire valley. Orpheus fixed his eyes forward, focusing on the distant growing light that marked the world above, holding tightly to trust even as uncertainty whispered quietly at the edges of his mind. As the pale light of the upper world finally touched his face, warm and unfamiliar after so long in darkness, Orpheus felt a wave of relief rise gently within him. Almost home, he thought. Almost returned to the meadows and rivers they had once wandered together beneath open sky. But relief, arriving too soon, has a quiet way of loosening even the firmest resolve. In one unguarded moment, still cloaked in the dim edge of shadow, Orpheus turned to look behind him, needing simply to see her face once more, to confirm with his own eyes what his heart already wished to believe. And there she was, Eurydice, still bathed in the soft darkness of the world below, her expression gentle, unafraid, filled with quiet love rather than blame. But the condition had been broken, and slowly, without struggle or sound, she began to drift backward into the shadow, her form growing fainter with each passing breath. Orpheus reached for her, but his hands closed only around cool, empty air, the darkness folding gently shut behind her once more. He remained there a long while, kneeling quietly at the threshold between two worlds, the silence around him deeper than any he had ever known. In time, Orpheus returned to the world above, though something in him remained forever changed, softened by sorrow, into a quieter, more contemplative version of the man he had once been. He continued to play his lyre in the years that followed, though his songs now carried a gentler, more knowing kind of beauty, the kind that only deep loss can teach. It is said that travelers who passed through the quiet hills of Thrace, in the years after, would sometimes hear, faint and distant on still evenings, the soft sound of a lyre drifting through the valleys, unhurried and calm, a melody that seemed to carry within it both remembered joy and gentle, settled peace. And so the story of Orpheus settled quietly into memory, carried forward through countless generations, not as a tale of failure, but as a gentle reminder that love, even when it cannot fully undo loss, still finds its own quiet way of enduring, softly, patiently, long after the music has faded into silence.